Hi, I'm Mike Shivanis, and welcome to Drexel Newman. So I'm going to give a brief explanation today on the way the Bible was written, but from a spiritual perspective. It's important to note that not all Christians agree on some of what I'm going to be saying, and that I'm giving the Catholic viewpoint. So Catholics, among some other Christians, use the word inspiration to describe how God made the Bible come to fruition. And notice I didn't say God wrote the Bible or dictated the Bible, but instead he inspired it. Catholics do not believe that God chose each word as it would appear in the Bible, but instead inspired those who wrote the Bible to put those words to paper. The term inspiration is meant to convey the belief that God and the writers of the various books of the Bible were co-authors, that the people writing brought their culture, their time period, biases, level of education, and everything else that made up their writing style to the text as they wrote it. And this not only applies to those who wrote down the majority of each book of the Bible, but also those who came later, who edited and redacted them. So this means there's a very real and very human element to the Bible, which is the reason it's not perfectly internally consistent or perfectly historically factual. You know, that each book has different emphases and points. Because like every other book ever written, it was written by humans. So a famous atheist, whose name I just can't think of right now, once said, if God had written the Gospel of Mark, you'd have thought God's Greek would have been better. And he said this because Mark's Gospel used some bad grammar and syntax in the original Greek. And the guy said this because he's never bothered to understand how Christians believed the Bible was written. Mark's first language wasn't Greek. So of course, from the perspective of inspiration, there were going to be some errors in the grammar. So all that being said, what has finally been preserved in the Bible, according to Catholics, is the inerrant Word of God, and it is exactly what we need, along with other forms of divine revelation, to get ourselves to heaven, in spite of all the human element. So the bottom line is, the Bible is inspired by God, written by people, and says in a human, roundabout kind of way, exactly what God needs it to say. So thank you very much for listening.